I've been
Well,
through all the standard domain interviews before.
yeah. So this one's a bit different, so we'll have fun.
10 with 10, 10 with Jen, 10 with 10, 10 with 10, 10 with Jen.
Mike, welcome to 10 with Jen, where I ask 10 out of 10s like yourself 10 questions in around 10 minutes to get to know you in a fun way.
Very excited.
Okay, so let's start with a little bit about you. Mike is a domain name pioneer and the driving force behind several game changing companies. His ventures, including phone.com, domainmarket.com, and SEO.com, were named among the 2012 Inc. 500 fastest growing small businesses in America. He also founded AccurateAppraisals.com and authored 2 books available at MakeMillions.com. Additionally, he established Make Change Trust, a charitable fund dedicated to creating sustainable social advancement by supporting charity partners with funds and resources. Beyond business, Mike is a Floridian family man, a drum playing visionary, and can even speak English backwards. I don't know what that means. How are you, Mike?
Sounds like Australian.
That makes sense. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Beautiful day in Florida, and everything's positive. Appreciate it.
So, Mike, are you ready for your 10 with Jen?
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready to go.
Number one, waterfalls or waves?
Waves.
Mm.
I try my best to live and be near the beach as much as possible.
After more than 2 decades in the domain industry, what is one of your favorite memories?
Selling my previous company was a banner moment. I've actually sold a good number of small companies, but my selling my company by domains was a momentous event, and changed my life in a lot of ways. So mostly for the better, and allowed me to propel my charities forward, start a bunch of new companies, and buy some nice real estate. So it was a banner moment.
How do ethical business practices contribute to positive social impact, including on social media?
Well, that's a loaded question, I guess. Let me see here. Well, for me, again, the impetus of starting all these companies is so I could benefit my charity work.
Mhm.
I've strayed a lot in the sense, when I started all this stuff, I had hardly any material possessions, and I had no interest in wealth or money. And over the years, I've become a little bit materialistic, but it's still the driving force. I'm still deeply engaged in charitable works. And, I think it's important to promote that, to keep everybody and myself on the straight and narrow as far as, what's the purpose? What are we doing here? It can't just be for, money and glamour. There has to be something beneficial to society. So I try to keep up to date on different trends related to, social action, charity, government. And I post a ton of stuff about that mixed in with stuff about domain names and business. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people are seeing me post a exhaustive amount of stuff with a variety of subject matter.
What is the most surprising lesson fatherhood has taught you?
How raising kids is the most difficult and most important thing going on in life. You're not going to get a easy ride or a free pass. You have to stay engaged and make sure your kids are raised properly and disciplined, and you're ready for all sorts of surprises, potential difficulties, and you have to constantly circle back. Sleep is out of the question, and free time is limited. But it's the best thing happening for sure.
What is the most terrifying animal?
Spiders. That's easy.
Oh,
That's why
like,
I can't come to Australia. I've seen the videos, and my best friend used to live there, and I'm not
yeah.
coming to Australia. Nothing personal.
You were at the helm when buydomains.com was sold to Highland Capital in 2005. Can you share how that deal came about and what the process was like?
The process was tormenting. Highland Venture Capital and some adventure partners are like super hardcore Boston deal makers. So everybody from Boston's a little rough on, and these particular guys are, extraordinarily skilled deal makers. Like, the guy Bob Davis is a famous world-class deal maker from Highland. The gentleman from Summit Ventures, Marty Mannion. So these guys are super badasses, and I was just a kid then, pretty much,
Yeah.
relative to now. And they were really hardcore, but on the other hand, I had street knowledge and I had a really valuable asset. So, I had to just go back and forth a lot and negotiate around with them. I had super smart people on my side backing me up, but
Yeah.
I had to be the bad cop because my friends, attorneys, investors were all, relatively kind and passive and trying
Yeah.
to, cater to the big shot rich guys.
Yeah.
But, I'm a little more scrappy and, I didn't want to be discounted too deeply was the main thing. But eventually we had a very amicable deal.
Did it take long to negotiate that deal?
I think it took maybe 2 months. I don't remember
Okay.
exactly, but it took a long time because what happens with all these guys, so I'm not singling them out, is every deal you do, whether it's big, small, medium, whatever, they come back with a bunch of paperwork with a bunch of BS in it that was never contemplated in the original offer and the original letter of intent.
Yep.
So you have to decide. So you have to start renegotiating the whole deal over, essentially, based on all these deal points. And you have to decide to what degree, if any, you're willing to cave on this stuff. And meanwhile, you're getting stressed out because it's racking up massive legal fees. You don't know if the deal's ever going to close. This is with every deal, every decent sized deal. So, it's super frustrating. I don't really like doing deals anymore. I like money, but I don't like playing games and there's very few of them. They all play games. It's just in their DNA to some degree. It doesn't mean they're lying and cheating and stealing. It's just the nature of their hustle is a game.
Yeah.
And, I'm very straightforward in everything I do. So I really don't appreciate playing any games with anybody. I've been working on some deals the last couple of years. So, they've been pretty difficult in and of themselves even again, it's regardless of the size of the deal, you go through virtually the same set of hoops. So it's not worth going through on a smaller deal. It's too much process and too frustrating, too many legal fees. If it's a bigger deal, theoretically it ends up worth it if you finish the deal. But
Most played album.
definitely the Nirvana Live in New York acoustic.
Love.
It's like one take of like the best songs and the best musicians, and it's really intense to hear them acoustic. A few months after that, I can't remember exactly the years, but I saw Kurt Cobain Nirvana live in Washington, D.C. It was like the most intense show ever.
Yeah.
And then he went off for an encore, and everybody's waiting and waiting and waiting, and half the stadium left because he didn't come back for like over a half an hour. And then he played a whole additional set for the people who actually stayed around. But it's the most amazing show ever. I mean, I've seen huge numbers of shows, but that was the all-time great. And then it was good timing for me to have seen it because he died a few months after that. So there's a lot of bands I love, but that's my favorite.
If you had the power to implement one transformative policy in today's administration, what would it be and why?
Well, just for the record, I'm not a Trump voter, but I do like a lot of the stuff that he's implementing, and I don't like a lot of the other stuff he's implementing. So I would say that I guess the best bet would be do a lot more research with professionals before just throwing out ideas and deals. Again, I like a lot of the stuff he's doing, probably most of the stuff. I believe in smaller government and transparent government. He's doing a lot of interesting stuff. I actually do believe in moving quickly, but not so quickly where you're not actually educated on what you're doing and you don't know the effect. Like, he's making a huge number of economic decisions, but he really needs to sit with a wide variety of economists and discuss it for a long period before he puts his policy out there, before he makes a deal. So I'd say just more detailed studying.
You're stranded on an island with the Sherpas. Who would you eat first?
Oh, well, that's easy. I'd eat Andrew to remove my competition from the planet. The other guys are background noise.
Well, they're all going to love that. And do you know what?
As a matter of fact, he doesn't even have to go to an island. He can just come over and bring some salt.
At the end of your journey, what impact do you hope to have had left on the world, particularly through the charities and causes you're passionate about?
I've studied the charities. I've met a lot of the people that operate the different charities. It's a very imperfect world. It's very difficult to figure out charities in a lot of respects. But you try to, I've been doing this for a lot of years and I've changed my type of charities I work with and the focus. Basically, you want to, it's like picking stocks in the sense that you want to make sure your dollar goes to the most important causes as far as possible. It's not being wasted. It's an efficient, quote unquote, investment. So what I'd like more people to do more charity work, to donate more to charity, to potentially, help the charities and the types of charities I'm working with. I've changed around a lot. The idea is that I was going to saturate Florida to the best of my ability with certain programs and types of charities I wanted to work with, and then attempt to export that model to other cities. I really haven't had the time and the discipline to do that. I've been doing it in South Florida the last bunch of years, but I haven't exported my model anywhere. So, in conceptually, I'd like to refine my model, export it, have my children adopt it to some degree, and other people that are concerned.
Mike, thank you for your time today. You've now been Tend with Jen.
Thank you so much, Jen. I had a great time. I appreciate you inviting me. Same thing. I mean, you probably know I do a very high volume of domain sales. So I go through these small negotiations all the time, but I'm not much of a negotiator. I just usually just give a price. Sometimes I let them come back. If it's close, I might accept it, but I'm not going to go back and forth through endless rounds of BS for a domain sale.
Right.
Because we have to do a high volume. And again, I'm straightforward. We have very high quality assets we're selling. So they're priced to be correct from the get go. And the reason is if they're too low, I lose money on the transaction. And if they're too high, I don't do enough transactions to stay in business. So I'm basically forced to set the right price.
Right.
So, I do an exhaustive job of researching and analyzing a huge swath of data and comparables. And, I understand obviously what I'm doing given the volume of domains I've sold. But in any case, that's less frustrating because they're small, they're quick, and most of them I just say no, 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 no.